Electric Fire Book 2 Hidden Chains Chapter 29.
I was surprised to hear Sonic's voice. Was this a dream though? He had been shipped out, right? The weapon was still aimed toward me. My energy was drained. If I used it, it could be the last move I ever make. I had almost died already once. Seeing Sonic here in front of the commander, along with the Red Echidna, gave me a glimmer of hope. He was able to get here. Maybe I'd be able to at least try and protect myself now. As long as he's okay, then I'm okay. I gave a smirk, watching Sonic's eyes go from an emerald green to a bluish-green color. He was getting ready to use his powers. Seemed he knew how to control them better now. The commander didn't lose focus on Sonic or the Echidna, still aiming his weapon towards me. This was my chance. I looked at the weapon and used the remaining energy I had and used Chaos Spear. The spear hit the weapon, knocking it out of his hand, but it also caused him to shoot. The bullet missed me though. I fell onto the ground of the room I was in. I no longer had the energy to keep myself up and leaning against the back wall. The bullet had hit the back wall, piercing a hole into it, and I could hear glass shattering behind me. I couldn't lift my head. I only watched Sonic and the commander's reaction, along with the Echidna. The commander looked at me. His weapon was tossed to the side thanks to my spear attack. I felt like I wouldn't be able to stay awake long now, feeling dizzy from the long loss of energy. This was the closest I'd get to being sick. The commander lost interest in me, deciding it would be best to get out of his device to call in reinforcements. He ran to a back wall where the device was. Sonic ran to me, same for the Echidna. He put a hand on my head.
He's got a fever.
He spoke to Sonic. I said nothing, but then a pink hedgehog ran over to Sonic and handed him something. I recognized them instantly. My inhibitors. But I figured it might be too late for him. Sure, I didn't want to die. Not like this. I didn't have the strength to push him away as they slipped both of them onto my wrists.
Sonic's point of view.
Reinforcements flooded into the room. The three, though, stayed in front of me. Amy summoned a Pico Pico hammer from one of her rings. It took form in both hands. Knuckles and Amy decided to attack the crowd, bullets flying everywhere. Both didn't get struck. I stayed back with Shadow, covering him since he was weakened and wasn't feeling well. I had no idea what I was doing, but I just knew that I didn't want to lose Shadow again. I already almost lost him once. I didn't want it to happen for real. He was my best hedgehog friend after all. I wasn't going to let Gun win, though he seemed to have given up the fight earlier, or maybe it was the energy lost from having those rings being taken away. They weren't like the poor ones I have. These were bigger. I could sense his energy was draining from where I stood.
The commander left the room as his own army walked in with guns in hand, along with a shield cornering the three team members against a wall. Sonic's team decided to work together to defeat the enemy. Knuckles punched his way through. Amy was able to make a path to Shadow using her hammer, and Sonic used his lightning power to blast through, making his own path. It was like a pinball machine to him. Gun soldiers fell like dominoes, collapsing to the ground. Most fell unconscious, but others got up and ran out. Knuckles' point of view.
Shadow, though, was still weak from the energy loss. But then as more enemies fled, thanks to yours truly along with Sonic, a noise from another room caused us three to peek inside. But first, Sonic went to Shadow and picked him up, carrying him on his back. The room looked empty at first, but then when we walked in, the lights were off. But then the door slammed behind us. Once we were in the middle of the room, lights flashed on. We were surrounded in a bright light. Then a giant robot appeared. The commander was inside of it. Sonic had to carry Shadow as Amy and I attempted to hit it, but the shield was too strong. The shield only went away when the commander attacked with 3 different targets. It wasn't easy for the commander to keep one in sight, since Amy and I attacked from different sides.
Sonic was at least able to distract the mech. He couldn't attack much with Shadow on his back. Not that he needed to at the moment. His newfound friend seemed to have it for the most part. The mech was soon downed after multiple attacks, once the shields were lowered. But as it went down, it took it an aim at Shadow. It was the mech's last move before crashing it, causing a blast similar to Shadow's Chaos Blast. The blast hit both hedgehogs at the same time.
Me and Amy got to a safe spot where the blast couldn't hit. Once the smoke cleared a bit, it appeared that the damage had been done. There was a bit of fire around, but the sprinklers kicked on instantly, killing the fires easily. The mech laid inches from Sonic. The robotic arm laid outward, inches from his head. The mech's chest was near Sonic's legs. Luckily for the hedgehog, he didn't get crushed by it. It nearly missed him when it fell. Shadow lay a couple feet in front of the blue hedgehog. Both were heavily beaten up. Amy ran over to Sonic. He looked up at her weakly, but glanced at Shadow. He didn't move though, aside from an ear twitch, as I approached him. He was barely alive. When I knelt beside him and checked his pulse. "It doesn't look good," I said out loud. Sonic got up and picked Shadow up again.
I know someone who can help.
Sonic sounded serious. Amy and I nodded. Then he took off. We both followed, keeping up as he ran. We reached a house a while later. Amy and I stopped outside. Hesitation hit us. Sonic hadn't noticed. He had ran to the door and let himself in, dashing for the kitchen table, where he sat Shadow down.